KVK is finally over. Kingsland battles have been fought, and it's clear who won. Although, you'll be surprised as to who's actually getting to capture the Zig. Join me to learn all about this full KVK. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay episode from your very own Chappy Gaming. And today, we are talking about Kingsland, how that zone went, and the conclusion of this KVK, which probably will surprise you in some ways. So, first off, I want to thank 2489 and 1365 for an amazing KVK. It was absolutely wild. The fighting was insane. And I want to thank our allies in the water camp and 1875. You guys were also spectacular. This was a great KVK to finish my time in 3265. Now, before I get too far into the stats, I did want to say 3265 is disbanding after this KVK. And we actually announced it before 1960, so don't get any bright ideas, but we were first, and we are disbanding after this KVK. And I did want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to the leadership of 3265. You guys are spectacular. Yeehaw, Rayleigh, Mac, Mars, all of you guys are spectacular. Thank you guys for everything. Now, without further ado, what the heck happened in Kingsland? I know you're all wondering. So, Kingsland actually started pretty well. We came in through the top, right up here at this path 8, and we were pushing over here. We had PP4 over here, and all of our flags there. Most of the fighting was really concentrated in this region. We had a couple sticking points right over here where we were fighting 1365, and we were fighting 2489 really right here. I gotta be honest, based on my lived experience here, fighting 1365 was significantly more painful than fighting 2489. And yes, 2489 zeroed me, we all know that, but just in terms of trades alone, I was trading so much worse against 1365, and it sucked. That said, we did have a couple good reports here. Not looking at the city rallies here, but if we do go to some of the general rallies, Shapur did great. You know, this was absolutely a crazy report. You can see it got swarmed to heck, but we still traded really well. So Shapur, Ash, that was by far the best rally pair. If you're wondering, you know, which pairs should you be using, that one traded really well. Here's another one that was Shapur, Ash again, also traded really well. So overall, definitely would recommend using this. Even though it was swarmed, it still traded positive due to swarmers. So overall, that went pretty well. A couple more Shapur rallies. This was by far the best rally combo to use. We did try Henry Shapur. It didn't do quite as well. You can see the kill point ratio right there. Not really as good. But overall, Kingsland was short. It was fairly short. I told you where we were fighting. And it was pretty fun. I had a good time, but you really started to see a fall off towards like the 8th to 12th hour there. It was rough. I mean, we had a downtime, and in some places we were free burning. 1875 was really holding ground over here, but 2489 was just burning us, and it was basically like we were just being double teamed during some of our off hours, and that was really rough. Also, the water camp, they put up a really good fight, but they didn't stand a chance against 2489 or 1365, and they certainly didn't stand a chance against both of them together. And as a consequence of that, after about 12 hours, our allies, the water camp, got pushed out of Kingsland, and we just had to say, you know, it's just not going to happen. Now, I got to be honest, guys. I never really believed that this was a fair KVK. And it wasn't necessarily because I didn't believe in us or our allies, but when you have two massive kingdoms like 2489 and 1365 that are easily within the top 5 kingdoms in Rise of Kingdoms, you're not going to win if they're on the same team. And I know everyone will say, oh, Chappy, but this was a fair team, right? Here are the teams right here. It was never going to be a fair fight. And this is something that I really want to call out, because people will look at power and they'll look at collective kill points and they'll say, well, look, that makes all the difference. But you have to remember, if you look at 2489 as a standalone kingdom, they have 2.7 trillion kill points. That is more than any other standalone kingdom. That alone is almost as much as these three kingdoms combined. And the thing you have to remember is the power and the kill points of three kingdoms is never going to equate to one very strong kingdom. You cannot put the small together and expect them to beat the mighty. That's not how Rise of Kingdoms works. That said, it was closer than I thought it was going to be. We didn't get blown out in Zone 5. Zone 5 was a dragged out battle. It was amazing. Again, 1875, you guys were spectacular. Pass 6 was pretty boring, if I'm being honest. Pass 7, also pretty boring. When we tried to invade each other's zones, that didn't really go very far. It was 2 days of really nothing. I didn't get a whole lot of kill points there. I also didn't get a whole lot of deads, which I was really hoping to get. So things were pretty slow up until Kingsland. And 1365, we were fighting constantly. They were really tough. And part of me wonders, could we have taken 1365 alone, 1875 versus 1365? Maybe. I think that there is real potential that we would have been able to beat 1365 alone, but the fact that 2489 and 3500 just outclassed the water camp, there was never really going to be a shot for us to win this KVK. That said, some people did say that we were going to win this KVK. Some people talked a lot of trash in this KVK, and I'll just show you guys some of the hot posts, but there were some statements that were made that were pretty bold. You know, Furious has made a couple videos on him. I'll post one above, but there was a lot of savagery going on in the Lost Kingdom chat, and I was pretty surprised. But I do want to say congratulations to those that did win. It was an awesome time, and my biggest congratulations goes to Baba, because I made a short on Baba talking about the fact that he could not win a KVK, and not only did he win a KVK, he won it against me, so props to Baba. I don't even know if he's going to watch this, but I do want to say props to you, Baba. Congratulations on your OTARC. Now, this is all fine and dandy, right? We've seen the teams, we've seen how things have shaken out in the zones, but what about the stats? Who did the best? And most importantly, who deserves to get that star from Zig Occupation? Let's find out. So let me hide this for you guys and pull this up. So here we are. We have the stats. This is from our OK board. Link will be in the description if you want to go check that out. But let's look at them, right? Earth Camp, as we saw from our screenshot, is the top right. So that's us. Wind Camp is the bottom right. Water Camp is bottom left, and Fire is top right. So, Fire, being 2489, did pretty well. They had 306, I think that's billion kill points, which is pretty awesome. That's in this entire KVK, so that's 2489 and 3500. Great job. Wind, remember, is 1365. They had 362 billion kill points. So when we look at our teams here, Wind had more kill points than 2489 by a fair bit. I mean, that's a fifth more right there. That's a pretty substantial amount. And Wind did have the most kill points out of anyone. And if you guys watch my last video, and I'll link it up on the top right side of the screen for you, you can see that 1875, us in Earth Camp, actually had more kill points in the last zone, but alas, we didn't keep it up in Kingsland. We were close, and we did have more kill points than 2489, which obviously means we should get some OTARCs, right? Please give me an OTARC. I need one. I've never gotten one. So we did really well. I'm really pleased with 1875. I came into this KVK saying, I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're going to do well. I don't know how this is going to shake out. 1875 did amazingly. Their combat was awesome. They were very well organized. They were always on comms. Really, really big props to them. And then you have Water. Now, if this doesn't go back to what I was just saying with us just being totally outclassed, right? From a team standpoint, Even though you look at the original power and you look at the original kill points with the teams, we were outclassed from the very beginning. There was no way that water was going to even compare. And they did okay. I mean, they came fairly close to fire, but they were so outmatched. And so I'm not too surprised. But things get a little bit more interesting when we actually go over to the deads, right? Because deads are also important in KVK. So here are the dead numbers. And this is where things get particularly fun. Because if we look over at the deads, Earth Camp, us, did not take the most deads. Water Camp took the most deads. So even though they'd never really had a chance against 2489, in my opinion, they did their damnedest. And I have to give credit where credit's due. Water Camp, you guys really did put up a lot of fight. You took a lot of deads in service of trying to win this KVK. So no one can say that you didn't try, because you did. We did pretty well too. We took a ton of deads. Honestly, I think we took a lot more deads in Zone 5 than we did in Kingsland. But we did take a lot of deads, and I feel pretty good about that. Personally, you guys know what happened with my account, and we'll be talking about that in another video. But personally, I felt that we had more in the tank from a dead standpoint for Earth Camp, and we just never got to use them because of the time in Kingsland, which was a big bummer. And again, of the two winners, Wind had the more deads, and Fire did not. Fire had the least deads of any kingdom in this camp, which means they're going to have the easiest recovery, and they're going to probably be registering sooner than anyone else. That's pretty crazy. I think if you look at kills to dead ratio, the ones that are probably the best off are going to be Fire, because they got a fair number of kills, and those kills came pretty easily. And this is also reflected in this next screen, which is Battle Victory Summary. So Battle Victory Summary says, based on the number of battles you went to, did you win or lose them? And interestingly, Earth, on average, won more battles than anyone else, followed closely by Wind. So Wind actually won the most battles, which doesn't surprise me. As I said, hitting 1365 hurt a ton. And it actually hurt a lot more than fighting against 2489. 2489 hurt, but fighting 2489 was a lot easier for me than it was fighting 1365. Now, which camp did the best, right? That's the big question. That's what we all care about. And when we start talking about who should be getting the star and who should not be getting the star, this is what's going to be the big decider. Well, the number one kingdom was 1875. Done. Give me the star. No, 1875 did really well. Again, they punched above their weight class, and I felt really good about it. Just purely based on KP, they did have the most KP and the most deads. So really, 1875 carried us this KVK. I don't think there's any disagreement about it. They did an amazing job, and I would happily fight with them again. But second place was 1365, which is really surprising to me because 1365 came in with more power. But they did really, really well. I thought for sure they were going to do better than we did. Yeah, I'm not surprised by this. I think 1365 did really well. They had a great KVK. They got a lot of kills. They really punched above their weight class. And honestly, I was pretty surprised. I was pretty surprised by 1365. I had heard things. I think I fought them before, and they sucked to fight. They were probably as bad as fighting 1960, if you ask me. 2489, third place. They got less KP, they got fewer deads, and they got fewer deads than 1875, too. So they did pretty well, and they won the KVK, but to be honest, if you look at just the two camps together, 1875 and us, right, 3265 versus 2489 and their allies 3500, we would have won. If this was a traditional KVK and it was just the four kingdoms, we would have won. 1365 was the ones who decided this KVK, and they're the ones who won it, in my opinion. Going down to some of the other kingdoms, 2748 did a really good job. 2902 did a very good job as well. They were really annoying to fight. They were the allies of 1365, and I did not enjoy fighting them, and the trades were also not great. And then you see 266, 3265, and the rest. So overall, it was an interesting KVK. I think where I get bummed out is I wish the teams had been different. And I think had the teams been different, it could have been a more fair KVK. But I think it was kind of doomed from the get-go, if you ask me. But it is what it is. It was a fun KVK, and folks did really well. If we go back into the game, I can show you the top killers. So here we are. We're back into the game. And let's actually see who shook out as the top killers. So if we go over to the expedition leaderboard, we can see that the individual kill point leaders were Wabi Enzo, 55, DeMarc from ULT, Katara, can't pronounce this, another person from 1875, someone from 1875 as well, 2748, and only one person in the top 10 was from 2489. That really surprised me. Just looking through these stats, I was blown away. Death points, you can see I'm 328. We got 2748, which is absolutely crazy. You got Abu Hind from 1875, really great leader, great fighter. 2748 again, 2748 again, 2748 again. Tell me Water didn't try to take deads. Tell me. These guys really put it out there. 1875, 2748, and 2489 made it in the top 10. Now, what is interesting here is you don't see anyone in 1365 in the top 10 for deads, which makes me wonder, were they playing it safe? Did they have more in the tank and they also didn't get to use all their troops? Or what really happened here? Because you don't see them really until rank 24, which is pretty crazy. Go down to heal points, similar story. You do see 1365 a lot more. You see Wabi Enzo there. You see 55 shows up again. You see this guy. I do think that kill points and heal points tend to be related. So if you ask me who really deserves the star this KVK, well, in my humble opinion, the winner of the star should honestly be the Wind Camp. The Wind Camp 1365 did so much fighting this KVK. Their stats showed that they did an amazing job. Having fought them firsthand, they were absolutely impossible to fight against. But the problem is the last time 2489 and 1365 were in the same KVK, they spun a wheel to decide who should get the star. And 1365 got the star last time. And so, as a consequence of this, 2489 is getting the star this KVK, and that's totally okay. Really, thanks again, you guys. That was a wonderful KVK. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and hit the subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner, and hit the bell so you get notified when new episodes come out. Thank you all. Shappy out.